Welcome to the Embodiment Matters podcast with me, Erin Giesemann Rabke, and my beloved Carl Rabke. We don't have the luxury of living in ordinary times, but rather we live in extraordinary ones where the way we live in the next decade will make a huge difference in the future of life on planet Earth. We aspire in this tapestry of rich conversations drawn from a variety of wise perspectives to share resources to help you embody the wisdom, compassion, and skillful actions that are needed during these times. You can find out more about our classes and sign up for our newsletter at embodimentmatters.com. You can also become a supporting member of our podcast with a small monthly donation. Look for Embodiment Matters at patreon.com. Hi, friends. It's Erin here. And wow, what an auspicious conversation Carl and I got to have with Jaiya John as the rebirth of our podcast and the beginning of this new season. I still don't know how we were lucky enough to be in communion with this incredible poet and teacher, and I'm so excited that we get to share this conversation. And if you're not already following him and a giant fan of his work, we're so excited to introduce you. You know, I've been a poetry reader for many decades, and many years ago, I had the pleasure of introducing a lot of people to Mary Oliver, who would say, wow, open this doorway in this world. And what a pleasure to be a person to open a door like that for someone. It is at least such an honor to share Jaiya John. And it's not only a conversation, it's really a transmission from an incredible being. You can find out more about Jaiya John at his website, which is JAIYAJOHN.com. You can find out about his vast collection of books, recordings, sign up for his Substack newsletter, find a way to follow him on Instagram where he posts and shares so generously, and where he also shares about these live online poetry gatherings and his world poetry tour. Carl and I have been lucky enough to be at many of these live poetry gatherings, and wow, cannot recommend them highly enough. I'm so grateful that we got to have this conversation and to share it with you. We talk a bit in this conversation about the great range that Jaiya inhabits and speaks to of soul and spirit and love and suffering and struggle and joy and freedom and wholeness. And I have to tell you, his kind of courageous living and his presence is so contagious. We get to hear a little bit about his background, him speaking about living fully dilated to receive and then pour back out what, spirit, love, earth, ancestors are wanting to come through him. That's contagious. We talk a lot about wholeness and going into the neglected or cobwebby places in one's being, and his fierce dedication to freedom and wholeness is so gorgeous and inspiring. I think I'll leave it there and let you just listen directly to this exquisite transmission from the wonderful Jaiya John. And welcome back to the Embodiment Matters podcast. We're so happy to have you here. Feel free to join us on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/embodimentmatters, to join in a conversation, if you like, about this conversation. We'll post the podcast there. And you can also find more about us at embodimentmatters.com. Thanks for being here and enjoy this episode. Welcome.
So,
Go ahead, Carl.
welcome, Jaiya. It's so good to have you here. We're so honored to be in conversation with you.
Blessed morning, Carl and Erin, both. The sun has risen today, and I'm thankful. Your two souls have risen, and here we are.
Here we are. So honored. We've been so excited and just looking forward to this conversation. Really, really thrilled to be here with you. Thank you so much.
I received that. Thank you, Erin. It's my pleasure. I knew it would be beautiful and rich, and soulful and heartful. And so it was an easy anticipation.
Well, I thought maybe we could season the waters of this conversation with a reading. If you'd be up for reading page 9 from All These Rivers
All
as
these
a
rivers. Yeah, thank you. Season the waters. I love your language, both of you. Ah, yeah. Okay, all these rivers. Here we go. This thing you call your life. It is a living thing made of spirit and bone, suppleness, softness, and severity. Notice the music of it, the air between notes, the silence in the breath of the melody. If you do not sing your life, it will not be alive. All living things are made of song and hunger for song. If you do not harvest your sorrows and make bread, your sorrows will make mountains and bury you. If you play games with truth, truth will swallow you. Truth does not play. Undress right here, right now. You have been taught to perform, and now is the time for you to touch your suffering and heal into your own unique authenticity. Do not look left or right. They are not you. Look into your soul. See the reflection in its shimmering surface. There are two ways you can do this thing you call your life. You can be harm, or you can be the immeasurable element called love. Your life is flooded with countless rivers leading nowhere, for they are made by humans lost in a human nightmare. Your life is also flooded with the only river that leads to the ocean of peace. Your peace, our peace. Maybe now is the time to stand on something towering high in the sky and look out over the landscape of your entire life. Behold your journey. Do something right now that makes your heart try happiness. Do it now. Even if you are sitting, you can move and dance. Look at you. Look at what you have done. All these rivers, and you chose love.
I imagine there are going to be many tears during this conversation. I'm just imagining those words entering the ears and the bones and the tissues of our listeners. This precious gift of this unique life.
This unique life. Yes, Cone. Oh man. We um we are travelers, and sometimes because of the human brain we feel as though we are just sitting still, but actually, we are always on a journey. We're always in a river. And so these moments that we move through, they are entirely precious and priceless, and they do not return. And so what a thing to choose love in each moment along the way. What a thing.
What a thing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to tell you that I am so grateful to have found you through your posting on Instagram in a year ago, maybe. And over the winter, I just kept being like, everything I read is like, the perfect psychic soul acupuncture hitting that spot that just zings everything. And so in the winter, I had to start with four of your book. Like, where do I begin? Okay, four. And we had a week off when our kiddo was on his winter break. And I brought these books. Um, and Carl and I were sitting across from each other, and he's like, who is this guy? What is this? And he had one book, and I had one book, and I would read a passage, and just like I saw happening to him there while you're reading, he just like breathless, so moved. He would read back to me, and oh, I have the goosebumps right now. I'm just so grateful for you pouring forth so generously so we can, I don't even know what the words are, have the experience of what happens with the transmission that comes from your words and your giant heart.
Aaron, thank you. I feel, I'm receiving, as I listen to you, the gift of the evidence of my prayers, of my lifelong prayers fulfilled, because there's always been this yearning to pour, to transmit what is moving through me and what I'm moving through, to pour that out everywhere indiscriminately in the spirit that it arrived to me, which is love. And, I know that this past winter, fall, winter, spring, for many souls was a challenging season, very intense, so much grief and loss and fear, and also a resurgence of love and compassion and mercy and grace. And so for me, during that same winter that you and Carl were receiving and bathing in that, I was just wide open. I was dilated all the way, and by nature and by choice, just staying dilated all the way. And so there was this great gushing torrent, this profound flow happening through me. And it was heartbreak, and it was devastation, and it was glory, and it was grace. And so it was a period of, in terms of what we call writing, some of the most concentrated, abundant writing that has, moved through me. And it was very humbling. And because I could feel the force of just our collective beingness at all times. And it was just, I mean, I always feel that, but this was exponential and urgent. And so I did my best to stay healthy in body so that I could just channel and be that instrument. And so to know that the two of you were receiving that time means so much. And because I feel that this is what we can do on this planet Earth together, is we can pour for each other, with each other, through each other, and we can choose this ceremony of communion. And this we do have authority and sovereignty, and we do have power, and we do have control when it comes to what we do with our hearts.
What a gift. You say it so well.
Mm.
Yeah. And since
Thank you.
then, we've been giving your books to everybody we can.
Oh,
We need
thank you.
more of this. And so, yeah, we're so, just to say again, so grateful to be able to share widely through the podcast too. It's just such an honor. I wonder, you can answer this in any way you want, but for people who are new to you and your work, whatever you want to say about your background or your roots or where you're coming from or where you're aimed.
Thank you, Aaron. So, it's always an interesting thing, right? Well, this question of how do I share with others the story of my life or the journey? Where do you begin? Where, where do you pause along the roadside and say, I'll pick this fruit and I'll share, and I'll share this shade's bottom under this tree. And what usually comes to me is what I'll share now is just that, I began, uh, like all of us, the child of circumstance. Although my biological father is from a small community in the woods of north central Florida called Bethlehem. My father's from Bethlehem. And my mother was born in the peninsula of Florida and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. Although they had those southern roots, I was orphan born in the desert in La Tierra del Encanto, Nuevo Mexico. I was born in the land of enchantment next to the Rio Grande River at the feet of the Sandia Mountains in the desert, the high desert of New Mexico. And I was orphan born, and I often just begin the story there because that circumstance has shaped me entirely and carved me as though from African soapstone into this purpose, into this aura. We all arrive at a certain aura, and not a stagnant one, but we arrive and arrive and arrive again throughout our lives into this energetic aura, this imprint that people feel. They feel it, right? Whether they are walking by us in the grocery store, in the market, or on the street, or we're talking on the phone, or we are writing that transmission, people feel the collective energetic harvest of our lifetime, which is a combination of ancestral rivers and genetics and intrinsic qualities, and then choices we make to heal or not heal, the places within us, the woods that we will dare to venture into, and the meadows that we arrive at, and then the places that may be because of fear we avoid. And we all of this becomes our art, it becomes our portrait, it becomes our energetic singularity. And so I began in the desert as an orphan, homeless, nameless, placeless, and growing up, my human attempt to understand all of that involved what it does for all of us, the pain and the sorrow and alienation and isolation and loneliness, and also vast mountainous prairies full of love and devotion and relationship and kinship and friendship and shelter within souls and shelter within sacred spaces, including the land. For me, when I say who I am saying I am this land. I am Turtle Island. I am what was before colonizers came. I am that. I am indigenous. I am indigenous African. I am indigenous Turtle Islander. And I grew up in a muteness, in a silence, a self-rejection and fear. And so for me to find my voice was a journey of very tremulous but determined inward and outward looking. And by nature, I'm very pensive and reflective and contemplative. Meditation is easy for me. I can sit in solitude and silence and really savor that. So that helped me. It helped me be able to see myself and turn the object of myself so that I could see myself from different vantages and perspectives and see the world the same way. And just, I love to learn. I love to peer upon a thing and gaze it and come to know it in the ways that I can. And so all the while, from the very beginning, from preconception, from my life before conception, there was a fire burning in me for freedom, freedom for all living things, all souls, and a very apt, rapt attention to suffering, our suffering and the suffering caused to us and the suffering we choose and the suffering we create. And so with those twin candles of love and suffering, I just have continued to go forth with this desire to flood the world, like a biblical flooding, a washing away of that which ails us, so that which is fertile within us can bloom. And so it has brought me to this life of voice, poetry, writing, speaking, teaching, mentoring, guiding, whatever you want to call it. I call it gardening as well. I'm looking upon my garden right now, and I have been gardening since I was a child. And I know that, all living things require love and nurturing and also relationship. And a garden is a great teacher for that. A garden is a great teacher for letting go and releasing and not hoarding and not grasping. And so that's been helpful for me to dissolve my attachments, the harmful attachments, and just to learn, practice how to truly love the way Great Spirit loves, the way Creator loves, the way God loves, the way music loves, which is to simply um, pour out without grasping, without clenching, without owning. Yeah. And
Mhm.
so that's a big part of my practice and I believe my servitude. So I call it the work Soul Water Rising. And the sort of tagline to it, the motto is stirring the soul to remember itself and also revealing the divine in being human. So I've had many seasons and iterations like all of us. I've been a professor at Howard University in DC, which was wonderful being in relation with the students, traveling. I've just been traveling all these years wherever I'm called to pour out the love. So I try to, I sort of avoid labels about what I am or what I'm doing, but for the sake of communication, using the English language, which is limited, I can say it's love and it's poetry and it's pouring. And when I say pouring, I also mean receiving the pouring because there's always that reciprocity and mutuality. That, for example, when we've had these virtual gatherings, the two of you have been so generous in not only receiving, but pouring your love back, because I can feel it empathically through the screen and across the miles. And so it feeds me. And to me, that's my dream. That's my prayer for how we can be together, how we can heal, how we can remember what it is to be whole and to be part of the fabric and the quilt of creation and not be lost in the delusion of hyper individualism. And we just remember the songs and the ceremonies and sitting by the fire, gazing each other through the firelight. This is how we do it.
Highly recommend those gatherings too. Every time we're there, we're just like looking at each other like, oh my God, how are we lucky enough to be with this person?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that there's
Thank.
not 5,000 people on the screen, and maybe there will be.
Yes,
It'd be lucky.
yes. Yeah, in that, thank you for that, Aaron. The virtual gatherings are a very fascinating experience for me, and partially because I do sense all the other souls that they're not there in that embodied way with us, but I can feel them. It's a way. It's for me like looking into a time continuum or portal or doorway, and you feel what's coming because I've had the blessing and pleasure of being in a space physically with thousands of souls at once and doing the same kind of work or servitude. And that's incredible. So you feel all of that energy and soulfulness. And so I know what it feels like. And I see because of technology, we have these opportunities virtually now, but I'm already, feeling the vision, the future vision. I'm, the foretelling or the foreseeing of the gatherings to come. And some will be, small 10 souls, and some will be, you know, countless souls. Why? Because our need is this great, this deep, this acute. We have this need for each other at this time on earth in a particular way. So I'm excited about just gathering. I think that's a big theme for me in this season of my life. It's just to facilitate gathering, fertilize gathering.
I know for myself, one of the central experiences I have with your work is this feeling of remembering a much broader, older, ancient, timeless identity. And I see in you something, Jaya, that's so unique in terms of the vast range of humanity that you inhabit. Like we've spent a lot of time in meditation circles and the space and the love, and that there can be a lack of acknowledging injustice and climate, or in climate or justice circles not inhabiting the play and the dance, and you are vast and hold that whole range from the oneness to the unique every form of life in your care. And I think I it gives me such hope and love that the soul water is rising and that there could be that range of humanity, and how many places where that is needed in this beautiful suffering world right now.
Oh, thank you, Carl. I love tears. I love crying. I love the soul water rising. As you wonderfully recognize that the meaning of those words, where that comes from, soul water rising. And when we connect with ourselves, when we reunion home, and when we reunion with each other in a pure way, that's what naturally happens. The soul waters rise. All the feelings, the emotion, the gushing. We are the nature of sky. We are the nature of ocean. We are the nature of rivers and breeze and trees. And so soul water rises when we are in our pure condition. You so wonderfully languaged just now for me a large part of what my existence is, my intentional existence, which is to be vast, to seep and soak and flow into the lands that are often neglected within us, the lands within me, the lands within we, to venture there, to day hike there, to quest, to pilgrimage to the corners and the spaces and into the cobwebs and into the shadows and into the music and the joy and the wholeness. And for some reason, it's just been a desire of mine to experience that within my lifetime, within myself, because there were parts of me as a child, as for many of us, that were partitioned and segregated off by social conditioning, by trauma and pain, by fear. They were just put away, they were swept away, they were kept away. And so I would say since about, I'll identify, and this might not be precisely accurate, but around the age of 18, 17, I left home at 17 and went to university. And and then a few months later, this, I will always praise her name because of what she did for me. This small woman, she brought her vastness and her poetry to campus. And I sat in that amphitheater, still mute, still terrified of my own shadow, still self-hating, self-rejecting as an indigenous Black soul. Um, and affected in such a way by the experience of being that in this world. So still very self-rejecting and so painfully uncomfortable with being seen, with having people look at me because of what I knew often came with those gazes. I'm sitting there that night in this amphitheater, and there was, it was an indoor auditorium, and so there was a ceiling, but it might as well have been just a night sky with a brilliant glowing moon, because this is how it felt to me, to have this soul come in and release her entirety in poetry. And I had never experienced such love before. Love for herself, love for the world. And this was the poet Nikki Giovanni. And that was the night that I can identify for you as certainly a significant turning point in me, um, having my dam break, disintegrate, be just devastated away, and the floodwaters coming through, and then me consciously beginning this lifelong journey of saying to myself, well, I want to be whole in this lifetime. I want to go to all the places within me and know them and sit by them and befriend them. I want to pour cups of tea with my fears and with my deepest pain and fashion a safe space in the relationship between myself and that. And so I began, and the writing was instrumental in that healing and in that voicing and in that pilgrimaging. The writing was instrumental. It brought forth my actual voice, this voice. And I've seen, Carl, how we segregate ourselves in all these different spaces, right? It's an easy tendency as humans to just let's be together in the sanctuary of this church, and then let's just be what we think is our idea of what we should be in a church space, in a sanctuary. And so now all of a sudden we've segregated ourselves off from the rest of existence and we begin to suffocate. Or let's be this way together on the basketball court. Let's be this way together in the political arena. Let's be this way together on campus in a classroom. Let's be this, let's be this, let's be this. And for some reason, I've always resisted that siloing, that partitioning, that apartheid of the soul. I resist it. It doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel right for me. And more importantly, to me, it feels harmful to the world when we exist like that. So I thank you for giving language to how you experience this vastness, which is not my vastness, but it's creation's vastness, which I have housed. And I practice demolitioning the walls and the ceilings and the floors of this house that I am, that there may be breath in breeze that just may flow through and not be obstructed, that there may be birds singing like a choir in the song of this tapestry. And so I try to blow up these calcifications, this concreting of myself. I try to decimate, when I feel the scar tissue forming into a petrified forest, I try to decimate that and bring it back to dust so that sunlight can come through. And so that's I feel like the my work as a teacher or guide, that's my work as a father, as a son, as a brother, as a lover, as a living thing.
Oh, all praise to your all of that, every word, your wholeness, your soul's insistence, the decimation of what you're decimating and resisting and standing for. It's so contagious. I just feel lit. I mean, there's such a fire inside my chest, a resonant, like, oh, and just talking about living fully dilated now, to hear that story that I didn't know of your muteness, to wow, what comes through? Like, I want to live like that. So thank you. You keep showing up.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you. It's liberation. I have this passion to be free. Yeah, not for me to be free, for we to be free. And I am consumed in that fire. And I study it every single moment of my life. How can we be free? And I look around me at the free things. I look at the trees and the sky and the water and the earth and the animals and the birds and the insects. And I study and I'm asking them, please teach us. Help us remember. Yeah, it's everything. Break those chains. It's I feel that every generation feels that they are alive at um the most vulnerable, fragile, dangerous, and hopeful time ever. We all feel this, every generation, every era, every epoch. But in some ways, it is actually true. It is actually true. There is an urgency, a criticality to this moment. Things are always teetering. Yeah, yeah. This world is always teetering, and we are the children on both ends of the teeter-totter. Do they even have those anymore? In playgrounds, the teeter-totter, man, they probably have liability concerns about with, with the teeter-totter, man, this catapult into the heavens. And so, like, we're always riding that, and it requires all that we are. It requires our joy and laughter and like goofiness, and it requires our clumsiness and our embarrassment and our blushing, and it requires rage, and it requires romance. It requires all the keys. It requires all the keys.
Can I make a reading request? So
Yes.
you can just continue on this, which is from Freedom on page 35, Soul of a Revolutionary.
Ooh, I opened right to it. So, Aaron, which would you like me just to begin with the beginning
You can
of
just
that?
every word is
That
a
whole page.
we're just
Yeah.
gonna leave it to you to read what you
Okay. Thank you. So this is Freedom, Medicine Words for Your Brave Revolution, which this came through and out into the world weeks before George Floyd was murdered. And, of course, that rippled through the world and began an uprising that began and begat other uprisings that we're still in to this moment. But it was interesting for me, humbling the timing of when this came out, because this is a book that speaks to freedom from oppression, which is my passion, which is my breath. And so this passage from the book is called Soul of a Revolutionary, and it's just to help us understand or to break down these rigid ideas of what it means to be a revolutionary and revolt, and hopefully brings us into a more organic understanding of our capacity at all times to be a part of the turning of the soil. If your soul is on fire to serve in a way that scares you to death, and you don't feel worthy, ready, able, and the burning will not leave you alone, congratulations. You have your calling. Bless you. Bless you. Your life is not for you. It is for the world. This is an ancestral arrangement. You've already been promised as an offering. If you can follow your heart and spirit, even through fear, not only can you fulfill your own soul and harvest a profound peace, you can also be medicine for all living things, all your relations. And then the question, what did I come here for? Answer this every day of your life. Why am I here? This is a question that can bring you to life, to life. When you feel you are dying of mundane, surrendered malaise, dying of fear and confusion, dying from constant feeling, ask yourself, why am I here? Ask it from your chest and gut. Answer with whatever courage you can muster. The answer can light your weakened embers, may even cause a bonfire in time. When your reasons for speaking and living in truth overcome your reasons for staying silent, you become a revolutionary. Each day, parts of you die for many causes, and of the dyings you choose, ensure you die for beautiful things. If you want freedom, you will have to die endlessly, and you will have to be born endlessly. This is a matter of losing your attachment chains. You are birthing a new world. Birth labor is painful. Find reason, will, and courage to push this new world out through you. And then there is this. There is this. A revolution is first an in rising before it is an rising. The soul within must reject its imposed and accepted oppressive reality. Then it must rise within, forcing a person into outward cause and action. See, soul rebellion precedes social rebellion, which is why the first and last revolution work occurs in the soul, in the soul, in the soul,
Hallelujah.
in the soul. Mm,
Wow.
in the soul.
Gonna take a breath and really let it all the way in.
Invite listeners to pull over. let, let that one land. Wow. So much,
Yes,
so much.
in the soul.
I'm
Mm.
moved by what you said in the beginning when we were talking about your background about these, did you say twin candles of love and suffering? I have those too. And if one is missing, I'm irritated. And you, so as Carl just said, the range you're bringing in that conversation, um, deep bows.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. Thank you. Yeah, again, I've just had to. So, what we have to offer each other, the purest of that comes from what we ourselves have experienced. And so, really, the purest form of teaching is testimony. In other words, to not impose on others what we think they should be or do, but to simply say, this has been my life, my truth. And so by sharing that truth, it's like you go into a desert where there's been a drought, and all you're doing is pouring water into a series of cups. And then you're stepping back and let whatever is in thirst come. And if it feels that that is good water for it, let it drink. That's the difference for me between um, the love act that we can call teaching, guiding, supporting, nurturing, mentoring, that love act of nurturing, the difference between that and colonizing, which is a control orientation. And all I can say is, through the poetry of this life, is that I've learned what it costs me when I huddle within myself in the encampments of comfort and familiarity. I've learned what it costs me when I stay huddled around those fires, and I do not dare to wander into the wilderness of the rest of me. So I've learned I need the suffering, I need the love, I need the joy, I need the heartbreak, the fabric, the quilt, the weaving is not complete, cannot be complete without all of the material, all of the threads. I need the sweetgrass and the cedar and the sacred tobacco, the sage. I need the four sacred plants, the four directions, the four teachers, the four seasons. I need the four elements. I need the seven generations before me and the seven generations after me. I need what is above me. I need what is beneath me. I need what has been neglected within me. So it's a practice of just getting better at retrieving those things, harvesting, bringing them to the table, preparing a feast, inviting myself, inviting my loved ones, inviting all living things, inviting what has created all of this, and then doing that continuously in each moment. That's my practice because it's all possible within each moment. A moment itself is infinite, no matter how brief it may be. So learning how to experience infinity within the brevity of a breath. I like that practice. I value that.
Your heart mind is such a beautiful place to be. Thank you for letting us join you here.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Can I request another reading? Because
Please,
it
please.
feels connected and it feels really important for this particular moment living on Turtle Island. If you would read Dear Artist, page 49, please.
Dear Artist, which is my most recent book, came out last summer. I'm excited for the new one to come, hopefully in September.
We are too.
Yeah,
Pre-order.
thank you. Thank you. We birth freedom at dawn. I feel in many ways it's very much offspring, or not offspring, let's say kin to well, all of the books, but particularly freedom. It's the medicine words for your brave revolution. So it feels like a continuation of that. So page 49, Dear Artist, a love letter. This was inspired by this book that I came across many years ago, which is really just a series of letters. And it's called Letters to a Young Poet by Rilke, the poet Rilke. Well, it was his correspondence between him and this young officer. And I fell in love with the idea of these two writing to each other, and particularly writing about what it means to be a poet, well, or an artist in the world. And so that's where this really has been marinating for me for years. Dear Artist, the love letter. And on page 49, this is the letter. With each horror a nation visits upon a people, the souls of that nation are thrust into a fatal question that determines all human life. Do I care more for this way of life, or do I care more to stop the horror? Here's the thing. If our way of life must die for our way of death to die, we must be willing to endure and hasten the death of our way of life. If our way of life is a way of death, how does your creative fire play a role in this? Your passion expression makes us feel and contemplate, which brings us out of our group days and back, days, D-A-Z-E, and back into the sensation of being alive. In our aliveness, a grand jury is formed in the soul. In that chamber, we indict, interrogate, and rule on this reality we have made. We rule on whether and how we are to unmake it. Your art, you see, is both an invitation and a seduction into reckoning. Into reckoning. Thank you for the invitation to read that one. This metaphor, this analogy often comes to me of how we tend to respond, how we ideally respond when an illness has been identified, diagnosed in our body. If we go to the hospital and a disease is diagnosed or a pathology, a problem, right? Something serious is going on in our body. Hopefully, ideally, we respond with urgency, no matter how hard it is for us to have to process that this is happening in my body. I don't want to believe it, but it is happening. It is real. And so I have to go there. I have to reckon. I have to understand there is death happening in me. Do I wish to live? And if I do, am I willing to do what it takes? Am I willing to change my life so that I may live? Because they may have been aspects of my way of life which were ways of death that precipitated this condition. And so I'm actually thankful for the diagnosis. And what I feel is that we collectively, as a nation or society or humanity, we have not developed in this kind of culture, people like to use the word Western, which I feel is avoidant and vague, but this mainstream culture we have not yet developed the muscles to reckon with the pathologies within us and simply say, yes, it's hard for us to acknowledge and admit these things, to see these things, to speak of these things, that we are in fact dying and it is our way of life that is killing us, whether it is in this corner of the world or another corner of the world. And so, do we have the will, the purpose, the reason, and do we have the love enough to reckon and to say, there are aspects of our ways of being that must die, and we must be the ones who kill them. It is us. Our ancestors are no longer embodied here to do that. We can't hand it off. And we pray that we don't hand it off to our children and our descendants. We are the ones. We have breath, we have blood, heartbeat, we have pulse, we have life. And we have to become more fortified in our ability and willingness, in our psychology and spirituality, in our culturality. We have to become more willing to begin killing these things, these mythologies, these ideologies, these supremacies, these hierarchies, these castes, these genocidal apartheids, these neglects, these denials. We have the diagnoses. There's disease in our body, collective. What are we going to do? And so we call out for the artists, which are in fact the revolutionaries, which are in fact the prophets, which are in fact the activists and the agitators and the act uppers, the good trouble causers, the grace doers, the manures for this revitalized garden on earth. We can compost all of it. We can compost ourselves. We can compost the degradation and the desecration into our own salvation, into our fertility and vibrancy. And we can make good things grow.
I'm so heartbroken in such a good way.
Yes. Yeah. This incredible life, it requires and deserves our devastation. It's worthy of that. We're worthy of that. And guess what? We are also, I believe, I feel, we are designed to endure it. We can take it. We can bear being devastated and still be beautiful.
And here we are in that range again of this absolutely radiant smile, this absolute heartbrokenness.
Yes.
Yeah, to not only bear witness to the horrors, that are abundant, but to reckon with our part, with our cultural part. And then, in your great range that I have so much respect for, one of the quotes I wrote down that I would love to read just to keep stretching us, letting us all keep stretching wide. Here's a quote of yours. I couldn't find where this was from, but I copied it a while ago.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Humanity is suffering for many reasons. And one is that in our always accelerating inner and outer condition, we have abandoned the realm of miracle. Life is a menagerie of subtle and sensational miracles. To be truly immersed in miracle, to see, feel, and be moved by miracle requires stillness, presence, intention, and attention, all of which we lose by rushing anxiously through moments that could have offered us their miracle. Instead, we experience the madness of chronic malaise. You and I are designed to live in a condition of miraculousness, of divine, purposeful, interwoven wonder. If we're going to heal our devastating, destructive impulses, we must remember our miracle nature and the miracle nature all around us. We have long been vagrant. It's time to come home to our holy design.
Mm, Wow,
That's good,
Aaron,
right?
thank you.
He's good.
Yeah, that listen, I think it was the reader. You blessed those words. Wow. Thank you for feeding me. That was so beautiful. The spirit that you put into those words. I'm gonna look here on my phone because I think that I heard you say menagerie.
Mhm.
I'm doing a search. I believe that what you read, yeah, it's gonna be in the new book.
Oh,
We've
this must be
yeah,
from Instagram that you
yeah,
posted.
yeah, yeah. This was written, this came through me March 27th of this year. So it's part of that flow of this season we've been in, particularly since October or so. But those words came as part of this calling for us to come home to our holy design.
There's something about that that really is so important to have the fortitude to do the reckoning, right?
Yeah, I think about that often, and I think I've been thinking about it all my life, just us as humans, and those moments in time where we collectively find the will to reckon, and then there's that uprising, and then but there's so often seasons where we just sort of surrender to the malaise or to the comfort, and we don't muster. And it's unfortunate that often it takes incredible horror for us to rally. But in the end, yeah, that's the requirement is we have to reckon. There's no other way through it. There's no other way to heal but to first accept your reality and then accept your accountability and sovereignty within it, all rooted in hopefulness, which itself is rooted in faithfulness. I can, we can do this. We can move through this. We can undo this. We can true this. Yeah, that blessed me. That made me want to get this book out today.
Wait.
I'm gonna be working at it. I'm gonna be working at it. There's just so much that has come through in recent months, and so much need right now. Um, I'm just feeling so yearning to, to pour and pour in these different ways and find different spaces for the expression and different forms. And I'll be in Barcelona in a couple of weeks for the World Poetry Reading Tour, and been excited about that. The souls that will gather there. We each have these different, not only gifts, but interests, crafts, hobbies, arts, inclinations, right? We each have these creative stirrings in us that we have to offer to the fire as kindling, as wood, as sustenance for the flame. And that's where we're at. We just need to each give ourselves permission to help sustain and grow the fire so that we're not wandering so much in darkness and cold, so that we can see each other through the illumination and know that we're not alone. So that's what I'm excited about, is just all the creative ways each of us can just beautify this world. And the arts, of course, are a big part of that. I mean, like, all forms of it, all forms of it. It's are just incredibly beautiful. The human spirit is beautiful because the spirit of life is beautiful, and we are life. Because we are life, we are capable of death. We are capable of killing things. I mean, not maliciously, I mean mercifully, killing our habits and traditions and um, our accumulations and prejudices and our scar tissue that inhibits us from fully breathing and fully feeling. We are capable gardeners. And so when a plant needs to be removed from the soil, we can remove it. When the soil needs to be healed, we can heal it. When a patch of the garden needs watered, we can water it. We just have to not fall into despair and helplessness and hopelessness. Our creativity is the rope for this. We climb out We climb out. You listen to a song and it moves you to tears. Boom, just climbed out of the pit of despair. You see a kindness between strangers. That's the rope. That's the hope. And also, in this very noisy world, if we can cultivate silence and stillness, because in silence and stillness, we see so much. It's like the difference between looking into a muddy pond and seeing mud and looking down into a clear, crystal clear pond and you see all that is. It was always there. Now you see it. So I do love silence and stillness. Those are good friends. Yeah, that was a beautiful reading, Aaron. It moved me.
Me too.
Yeah, I might even, and now I feel like posting it. I'm inspired to post that today.
It's always a blessing when you post.
Thank you. You may not be aware of this. I've definitely been living it for about 3 years now. And when we talk about oppression, so the Instagram has been completely suppressing my posts, shadow banning, I guess you should call that, or can call that, for about 3 years now. Um, and not surprising because that's what's been happening to certain folks, certain persuasion or certain who post certain um, messages or values, you know, that have to do with collective freedom and liberation. So a lot of folks have been having that happen, but definitely that's happened over the last 3 years to where it can be a challenge for me in the sense of feeling like, oh man, this space, so much beauty has happened in this space, this Instagram space, but at the same time, so many people are not even seeing the posts. So I'm always thinking also about how can we share in ways where it's not controlled by corporate interest and people can just freely receive from each other. So the my sacred word journal, which is on Substack, that's been a hopeful thing. That feels like fresh air because there's no algorithm blocking people from receiving. So I share a lot on there, but the virtual gatherings, that's been important. The in-person gatherings, we just have to make sure that we're not too dependent upon particular popular spaces that really are not in our control and do not really ultimately serve what we care about, which is healing and well-being together. So yeah, it's an interesting thing for me to post something because it's a feeling again of both love and hopefulness, like you're setting a dove free from a cage into the sky, and at the same time you also feel the oppressive gravity acting against it at the same time. So again, that duality, that love and suffering are there in the act, which again stretches you and offers the resistance for your muscular development, your spiritual muscular development, which is one of persistence, right? To say, no matter what we are up against, we will persist. We will continue to pour and pour and pour.
Thank you for pouring.
Thank you for pouring.
Yes.
I know we're getting close to our end time here. I would love to share a brief piece that has moved me. The thing
Thank you
about
so much.
the thing about sacred land, whether the earth, a people, humanity, or your body, calling, dreams, or the future, is that you must be willing to honor and protect your sacred land. Hungry ghosts will come for it. You must not run from them, or worse, silence yourself in fear of public sanctioning. You are the steward and caretaker of your sacred land. You must use all manner of ceremony to protect its sovereignty and to resurrect its vitality after harm. Your sacred land needs you wild and ablaze with passion. It needs you ignited into creative, resourceful, determined resistance, joy, and beauty. Let's say you are a dancer. Your sacred land needs the festive, feasting, faithful fury of your feet.
Let's say your dance. Carl, thank you. One thing I love about the two of you you selected two pieces, Aaron. That was March 27th. Carl, what you just read, that came through on March 16th of this year. So it's part of the same flow intimately. So it will be in the same book. But to for me to get to experience what moved each of you, it's just so moving for me. It's almost like I've said this many times. My relationship with the words that ultimately become what is known as my writing or the books. The relationship is untethered. So, in other words, I don't even experience them as my words. My practice is to just open. And so it's like a flock of birds arriving. So therefore, later on, oftentimes I don't even recall those words coming through me. And so to have others read them back to me is a very beautiful, humbling experience because it feels like, whoa, though that really moved me. Like I wonder who wrote that. I sometimes I don't even know who wrote it. I just know that I'm hearing the vibration of your voice, Carl, say, let's say you are a dancer. And for some reason that really, really moves me. Your sacred net land needs the festive, feasting, faithful fury of your feet. Whoa. The thing about sacred land, I feel and think and write often about sacred land because I feel that we are sacred land, each of us. Our lives are sacred land. Our culture is sacred land. Our community, our society, and our humanity are all sacred lands, but we've forgotten that. It's like we know how to treat things as sacred, but we have forgotten just how much of what we are is sacred. And so we don't behave sacredly. We don't treat it sacredly. And so if we could just remember what our sacred lands are, then perhaps we would relearn how to exist in a sacred way. And that concept of hungry ghosts, I got that one from Thich Nhat Hanh, the venerable teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who is with us as an ancestor now. He used to write and teach about hungry ghosts all the time. And that's what happens when we are unrooted from our spiritual nature and sustenance is we become perpetually hungry and never satisfied, never satiated. That's that greed. That's that, you know, it's that greed. And it shows up in materialism and in the way we relate to one another. It shows up in controlling behavior, hoarding behavior, oppressive behavior, because a hungry ghost is afraid. It's terrified. It's like, what's going to happen to me? I'm not going to be able to get enough to eat. So that was very moving for me. Now I'm just going to have to stay up all night after this, you two, and get this book out. I got to get this book out.
We can't wait. I just want to say, if ever you want to hear your words back to you, we could do this for hours and days. We have so many selections. This is like just scratching this.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. That's so kind. I would love that too. Well, this year I'm calling this a tour, right? A world tour with the poetry reading. Really, it's just how I will continue to serve next year and beyond and beyond and beyond. It's just going to the people directly and into the communities and gathering together in a spirit of revolution and a spirit of boldness and sharing the poetry, the breaking that bread, and multiplying the fishes and loaves and bringing down the manna from above. And so I go where I feel called. And so if you're ever feeling a vision stirring for something there in your area, please reach out to me and I'll be happy to explore how we can make that happen. Are you in Salt Lake City proper? Is that where you are? You're in the city? Yeah. Trying to remember where I was earlier this year. I can't remember the name of the town. But it's Utah is part of that Four Corners area that are my origins. So the land always calls to me. And I would be delighted. I'm looking at, I particularly love the idea of gathering in community spaces and also campuses because of the student element. I love my young people and I love exposing, just as Nikki Giovanni changed my life at that age. I love just exposing them to something that's going to really stir them outside of the regular classroom, routine. So that's what I love. The thought of university campuses, colleges, community colleges, those kind of spaces.
All right. The seeds, the vision is stirring over here. We'll
Yeah.
keep seeing it.
Mm.
Yes. 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 Want to, your relationship with Alexandre. I'm grateful for the love I know you all pour between one another. And he's such a delight. I've been blessed to have him, appear in my life. And I think he's visiting soon, right?
Yeah,
Are
next.
we're already coming up on, yeah, late August. So, yeah, I just want to express to the both of you that I cherish the love you have for him and the love he has for you. And just that, again, to just witness and behold a weaving of souls like that is so precious in this world.
It is so precious.
Yeah. So I hope we will gather again soon, some virtual way, or never know, maybe even in person.
So
We
wonderful.
would love that.
Yeah.
Jaiya, I
Thank
just
you.
want to say thank you for how you are and for the intentional way you are contagious with love and courage and reckoning and revolution and joy and all of it. I'm just so grateful to have come across you. Thank you, thank you. So much love and praise and awe.
Uh,
Yes.
Thank you. I receive. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Carl. I receive it. It's always mutual. It's always reciprocal and symbiotic. I love loving. I love the contagion of it, the pollinating of it, and the blooms that result.
Well, may there be many blooms from this podcast conversation coming up to the
Uh,
I have a feeling.
Many
I'm excited.
miracles.
Yes, yes. This is our prayer, and I'm excited for it to go out and be out and to carry in the wind. I'm excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hospitality and inviting me into your hearts, your heart homes. I will carry this with me as I go forward through all the seasons. Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you enjoy this podcast, it's great if you want to share it with friends or post about it on social media. Also, you could make a donation to support the podcast or find out more information about our classes and offerings at our website, embodimentmatters.com.